2 sons. The younger said to his father,
"Father, I want right now what's coming to me."
So he divided his property between them.
A few days later, this younger son packed all his belongings and took a trip to a distant land. And
where
there
he
wasted
wasted all his money in wild living. He had spent everything. When a bad famine spread through that whole land, soon he had nothing
He
to
was
eat.
hungry and needed money, so he went and got a job with one of the people who lived there. The man sent him to the fields to feed pigs.
He would have been glad to eat what the pigs were eating, but no one gave him a thing. Finally, he
Came to the census, he said, "How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare?
And here I am starving to death. I'm going back to my father. I'll say to him, 'Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you.'
I am no longer worthy to be called your son.
let me be like one of your hired workers. So he left and he went to his father. While the son was still a long way
While
off
he
his
was
father's
still a long way
he felt
off,
sorry for him.
his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his
So
son,
he ran to
threw
him
his
and
arms
hugged him.
around him and kissed him.
The son said, "Father, I have sinned against God. I have done wrong to you. I am no
I
longer
don't
worthy
deserve
to
to
be
be
called
called
your
your
son."
son ever
The
again."
father said to his
But the
servants,
father wasn't listening. He was calling to the servants, "Quick, bring a clean set of clothes and dress him. Put the family ring on his finger and sandals on his feet.
get the best calf and prepare it.
Bring the
So we can
fattened
eat
calf
and celebrate.
Let's have a feast and celebrate.
This son of mine was dead, but
his
has
son
now come
was
back to life.
dead and has returned to life. He was lost and is found.
Was
So
lost
the party
and found.
Lost
So
and
they
now
began
found.
to celebrate.
And they began to have a wonderful time.
In the last 3 years here in the orchard, dozens of people have found their way back to God. Some finding God for the very first time, giving us the privilege of baptizing them into Christ here as a part of our church family. 29 to be exact so far, we've got to celebrate with. For others, it was a coming back to God that had taken a while. They had strayed from the relationship with God and found their way once again back to an intimate relationship with God and with His family here as a part of the orchard. Some of those people disconnected for many, many years. In some cases, up to 35 years that they were on a journey back to God. For some people, the journey back to God was very quick, almost instant. For others, it's involved many steps over many years. And every year, millions of people find their way back to God. And we are privileged just to be a small part of God's mission in the world of drawing people back to Him. For many people, the message of Easter is a turning point, or one significant turning point in the journey back to God. In fact, this is the essence and purpose of Jesus' life and death and resurrection, was to draw us back to God. Here's how Jesus himself put it before he endured the joys and sorrows of the Passion Week. He said, "When I have been lifted up from the earth, I will draw all people towards me." That's what Jesus' life and death and resurrection are all about. That's His mission, and that's our mission as a church as well. All the way from the time that Jesus walked the earth physically to this very day, His mission is about helping people find their way back to God. And that includes you and I right here in 2017 in Emmett, Idaho. As a part of this series that we're starting today, we're going to hear from a few people about their journey. Some of the people that you just saw in that scripture reading video, about their journeys that led them away from God and ultimately how they found their way back to God as well. So this morning, I want you to hear 3 of their stories of how they found themselves in a place where they needed to journey back to God. So watch this real quick.
My father was an alcoholic, so I grew up in that type of a home. Once I became of age, drinking was just natural. I saw it, did it, participated in it, got heavy into it. My first marriage was not very successful, and it ended fairly soon. I had a daughter with my first wife, and I was very into being a daddy. Having my daughter gone was very, very difficult. And it was probably at that time, as far as from a drinking standpoint, it's got a lot. Got married again, got into the same habits, same routine. My first marriage lasted 5 years. I had a daughter, got divorced. My second marriage lasted 5 years. I had a daughter, got divorced. Didn't really learn from my experiences. It was more a day-to-day, I want to feel good today, however that was. Alcohol, sex, success at work. There was no real foundation of anything significant that I was searching for. That was rock bottom for me. I've had 2 failed marriages in 10 years, 2 daughters that are no longer with me on a day-to-day basis. Now I'm by myself at this point.
My journey started when I was 2 years old, and my mom and my dad divorced. And we had lived with my grandmother for a long time, and she had then at the time gave us an ultimatum to stay with her or to leave. And my grandmother and I did not have a good relationship. My mother and my grandmother did not have a good relationship. I met my ex-husband when I was a junior. It was great in the beginning. I didn't really know who I was though at 16, 17 years old to be in love or even know what it meant. It just something was missing. But I just was so in the moment and wanted to get married and the whole fairy tale that I kind of pushed those feelings aside. Once we had my daughter, it definitely took a turn for the worse. His behavior changed and my behavior changed, and I wanted out about a year after. And so I stuck with it for a little bit longer and went to therapy. And then once I found out I was pregnant with my son, I felt like I was just stuck. I have 2 kids, and I definitely don't want to be a single mom with 2 kids. So I knew something had to change, and I just kind of went the wrong way to make that change. I had an affair, and then on Father's Day weekend, I had another affair. And the man that I had an affair with ended up being my boyfriend for a few years after me and my ex-husband separated. I think from the beginning of being with a grandmother that treated me like a piece of crap, to now being in a relationship that I just destroyed, slept with multiple men, but there was no God. And if he was there, he was not a nice person.
I grew up in a Christian home with 2 parents who also grew up in Christian families. When I was young, about 7, my parents moved to a camp in Central Illinois, a Christian youth camp. And that was a really, really cool way to grow up. Just surrounded by youth groups and Christian kids. And coupled with that, I also grew up in the church, surrounded by a family that didn't just believe it, but lived it. For me, growing up, the key word, I think, in my family would be acceptance. I didn't find that out till later, that was a key word, but it was exactly what I knew growing up. No matter what I did, I would always be loved. Exactly as I am in any moment. I had a faith, I saw how it played out in my family's lives, but I did not have a direction, and I did not have a purpose that I felt like I was being pulled towards or called to, just kind of searching, longing for a fulfillment that it seemed like everybody else in my family had, and I just hadn't found it.
I want to pause in the middle of their stories here for just a minute because I want to ask you to consider your story. You ever felt like Bryce or Carissa or Jake here in the video? Maybe your story isn't as dramatic as any of theirs, but you have felt similar emptiness to what they felt. I can pretty much guarantee it because that's a part of the human condition. You know what it's like to have deep longings that seem to be going unfulfilled. You know what it's like to end up in a place where you never thought you would go. And maybe even today, some of you, as you look at your life, are thinking there's got to be more than this. And that feeling of there's got to be more, that awakens in every one of us longings that go deep within each of our souls. Longings that are so universal that they show up just about everywhere. They show up in the stories that we write, in the art that we create, and in the songs that we sing. I'm going to prove this point real quick with you. I'm going to play some snippets of a couple of songs that are somewhat fairly well known through the years. that are about these deep longings that we all have. Okay? But I'm going to need your help with this little activity, all right? So as these next couple of clips play, if you know the song, just sing along, and when the music stops, finish the line, because it's going to stop right in the middle of a phrase, okay? We've got 3 of these. Sing along if you know the tune, okay?
I knew she was gonna be the connection, and her feet were what to say. You can't always get what you want.
There we go. All right, 1 for 1. Good job. All right, let's try a second one.
Playing a fool's game, hoping to win, and telling those sweet lies and losing again. I was looking for love in all the wrong places.
You guys sound great. All right, last one's my favorite. Beautiful. We should do this more often. Those familiar tunes that go way back in our minds, they're just lodged there, are longings that you and I and every human being on planet Earth has experienced. That's why they find their ways into our culture that way. They're hardwired within us at the deepest levels. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit this morning. If you haven't yet, go ahead and grab that bulletin again and find the little insert that says Finding Your Way Back to God on the top, and it's got some scriptures printed there and some blanks where you can fill in some notes here and jot down what God might want to teach you this morning. We would love to add some value to your life this morning, some things that you can take home with you to think about this week. And while you're digging for that message notes insert, let me also remind you to fill out that little white envelope, if you would please, and we'll collect that at the end. The first deep longing that every human soul experiences is, number 1 in your notes there, the longing for love. Everybody has a longing for love. Only the most stoic of individuals would even attempt to suggest that this is not something that they have a deep longing for. One guy that wouldn't deny his deep longing for love for sure was a guy named Glenn Wolfe. Has anybody ever heard that name, Glenn Wolfe? Okay, you won't forget him after this. Mr. Glenn Wolfe happens to hold a rather notorious record. In the United States, Glenn Wolfe holds the record for the greatest number of legal marriages. He holds the number at 29 times he was married. His longest marriage lasted 7 years, and his shortest marriage was just 19 days. Here's a very interesting side detail about Mr. Wolfe. He also happened to be a Baptist minister. Now, the thought of that just blows my mind. Here's what I think. Why didn't he stop after the 4th time? Or even the 24th time? You know, what kept him going in this pursuit? Why keep trying after all those failures? After all, relationships are hard. You know, we've all been dumped, we've all been hurt, but every one of us still longs for love. Even if we take marriage out of the equation, why, when one friend stabs us in the back, do we find ourselves reaching out and trying to form new friendships again? Well, it's because deep inside every one of us is this deep longing to be loved. It's a part of who we are. And it's in finding our way back to God that we find the source of where that longing can be met. God says, I have loved you, my people, with an everlasting love. With unfailing love, I have drawn you to myself. God wants us to find our way back to Him, to have that deep longing met. A second deep longing that we all experience is the longing for purpose. Think back to when you were 5 or 6 years old, maybe. What did you want to be when you grew up? There's the standard list. A doctor, a teacher, a policeman, a fireman, astronaut, one of those iconic careers. Now here's an even more interesting question to ask yourself. Why in the world were you dreaming about having a job to begin with? You didn't need a job when you were 5 or 6 years old. You didn't have any bills that you had to pay. I remind my kids of this all the time. You were still learning the alphabet and how to spell your own name. Why did you even think about what you wanted to be when you grew up? Well, it's because you had this deep desire for purpose hardwired within you to accomplish something in this world. A third deep longing that we all experience is the longing for meaning. We have a deep longing for love and for purpose and also for meaning, for answers to those big why questions that we have in life. Every one of us has had enough pain in our life that's caused us to stop a time or two and ask, God, if you are so good, why is this happening to me? Or what is the point of my life? Why am I here? Or why am I in so much pain right now? And if suffering has caused or is causing you to question God, think about this. There's a reason that your suffering feels not just painful, but also wrong and somehow unfair. There's a reason that you feel like your life and maybe the way the world aren't the way they're supposed to be. Because God gave you those feelings. In fact, God feels the same way. Our desire to see wrongs righted and to see suffering come to an end were put inside of you by God. And so that this longing for love, this longing for purpose, longing for meaning, for answers to the tough things we deal with in life are hardwired. And the problem isn't that we have these longings to begin with. The problem is when we seek to meet those longings all on our own. The problem is we try and satisfy those things without God in the picture. And so here's a piece of good news for you this morning. Merely awakening to the reality of these longings within us, beginning to think about how are these things ultimately going to be satisfied in my life, might just be the spark, the beginning, a turning point in your journey back to God. A few minutes ago, we saw the video of several people sharing a Bible passage from the Gospel of Luke. I want to read just a few verses from that again. We find that story in Luke chapter 15, and I'm going to start reading in verse 11. Jesus is telling this story here. He says, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had and set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he'd spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went out and hired himself to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything." And Jesus tells here what's considered by many people to be one of the greatest short stories of all of literature. This lost son who finds himself in a place where he has this longing, there's got to be more than where I'm at right now. Maybe you can even hear the son singing if you listen close enough. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. The situation is actually worse than that, though. You see, in the context of first century Middle Eastern culture, a son asking for his inheritance early was the worst insult that a father could receive. Because a son in Jesus' day was not only expected to wait until after his father died to receive his inheritance, that kind of makes sense to us, but there was also an expectation that he would be caring for his father in his old age. And so this son asking for his inheritance early was basically like saying, "Look, Dad, I really don't care if you live or die anymore. I just know there's something more and I want it now." It was a hugely offensive deal to the father. But before we condemn this younger son as purely ungrateful and selfish, none of us would ever do anything like that, is it possible that he said out loud what some of us have felt? Sometimes we don't we just feel like life is not delivering us what we would want or what we would expect, what we would hope for, maybe even what we feel like we deserve. Well, this might surprise you to hear, but I believe that that thinking and feeling that you want something more out of life was also given to you by God. That's how you should feel. Now, is literally everything that we desire in life good for us? Absolutely not. But things like longing for love that will last, and for a purpose for living, and for meaning and in the struggles that we experience in this life, all of those longings come from God. But the young son in Jesus' story was a lot like we are at different points in our life. He was convinced that he had to leave the Father in order to have those deep longings fulfilled. So Jesus says he set off for a distant country. The story doesn't give us many details of what happened in that distant country. It just says the younger son squandered his wealth in wild living, and we're just sort of left to imagine what wild living would have looked like in Jesus' day. If the story were told today, it might have said the son ventured off to Las Vegas, or to Amsterdam, or maybe Jackpot, some other exotic place like that. I can imagine it was a journey that was filled with long nights of binge drinking until the wee hours of the morning, women who were willing to satisfy his every desire at the right price. And as you might imagine, it doesn't take long when you're living that kind of a fast and hard life that the son would blow his inheritance, and quickly that big adventure turned sour. But a famine struck the land. He had no money or food. The story says so he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country who sent him in his fields to feed pigs. And he longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. I want you to notice a few things about this young man's situation here. First of all, his longing for love wasn't satisfied by having lots of women. His longing for purpose wasn't found in all-out partying. And his journey left him asking all kinds of why questions. Why didn't this turn out as good as I thought it would? Why am I so lonely and broke and empty? Why did I end up in a place like this in the pigsty? Any of those questions sound familiar to you? Or maybe they just feel familiar. Well, you need to know that the story of the lost son is each of our stories. That's why Jesus told it. Some of our stories are more dramatic or less, some are more painful or less. But Jesus told this story to help each of us find our way back home, back to God. The ultimate question we need to ask ourselves is, where will I go to satisfy all of these God-given longings? And will that pursuit lead me further away from God or take me closer to Him? This Finding Your Way Back to God series is certainly about that first time that we find our way back to God and begin that new relationship with Him through Jesus. But it's also a story of growing. It's about our ongoing journey, because we each need to find our way back to God for a first time as a life-defining moment to come to know Christ personally. But over and over in our life, we need a course correction. We need to find our way back to the life that God has planned for us. If you're a Christian, God's Spirit has never, ever left you. But if you were to step back and look at the spiritual journey of your life since becoming a Christian, you would probably still see times when you wandered from God's place for you, God's plan for you. Time after time, we've forgotten who we are, and more importantly, whose we are. And too many times we have made choices that have turned our backs completely on what God wanted for us. So throughout these 5 weeks, we're going to be looking at some of these awakenings that occur in just about everybody's spiritual journey. These 5 awakenings are where we come face to face with these deep longings again and again through our life. This week we're talking about awakening to longing, to the very fact that we were made for more than what we typically experience on a day-to-day basis on our own. And we're going to find, if we stick around and hang around and explore these awakenings, that they are all satisfied by running towards God and not away from Him. This might be the most important series we've ever done as a church. In fact, this series is the reason our church exists in the first place. Our story as a church family, as the Orchard Christian Church, is a story of helping people find their way back to God. When I was first investigating the possibility of moving here to Emmett over 4 years ago to help a new church get started, One of the area pastors that I visited with in my visits and sort of investigation made a statement that I found very disheartening at the time. And he said, everyone in Emmett who wants to go to church is already in one. I'm not exactly sure what he was trying to communicate at the time, but I took it to be a confirmation of our mission. Because my family didn't move here to start a church for people who just like to go to church. We came here to start a church for people who need help finding their way back to God. That's what we're all about. And it's not just a Sunday thing. It's who we are. It's our life that we live on this mission. We want to help you in finding your way back to God. And so, besides just inviting you to come back next Sunday for the next step in the series, we want you to be on that journey through the rest of the week as well, because it's not just a Sunday thing that God wants to be connected with us. We have several life groups that meet all over town. They're listed on the back of the bulletin every week, times and dates and locations, and who leads those. We would love for you to join up with some fellow travelers on this spiritual journey. We also don't want you to just take your steps in your journey of finding God in church programs. God wants you to pursue Him, to come back to Him every day of your life. And so, on the table behind the black curtain right back here, we have a number of things, our yard signs and our t-shirts, but we also have a big stack of these hardback books by Pastors David and John Ferguson, titled Finding Your Way Back to God. A book that will kind of parallel what we're studying through as a church over these next few weeks. They're $11.49 on Amazon. You can just grab one from us for $10. Keeps it easy. And in the back of the book, there is a daily devotion, just one page each day. Doesn't get much easier than that. We want to challenge you not only to be here on Sundays to get connected in a life group, but to be finding your way back to God on a daily basis. I've got another quick video here that I want you to see from Dave and John about this series.
That story of the lost son is in every one of our stories. That's why Jesus told the story. To help each of us find our way home. To help us find our way back to God. And what the story does, it introduces one of life's really big questions. And that is, where will we go to satisfy these longings we have for love, and for purpose, and for meaning? Will those longings drive us away from God, or will they bring us back closer to God? John and I have had the opportunity to interview, really hundreds of people and see thousands more walk a similar path. And that path always included 5 spiritual awakenings on their way back to God. And in the next sessions, what we want to do is we're going to introduce you to these 5 spiritual awakenings. And here's my sincere hope. It's this, that you will find your way back to God. Maybe for the first time, or like me, maybe one more time.
The 17th century mathematician Blaise Pascal had one of the greatest intellects in the history of Western civilization. He grew up knowing about God, but not earnestly following Him. Then, in a profound middle-of-the-night experience with God, he had a change of heart. That experience ignited Pascal's passion to help others find their way back to God. Pascal began to challenge his fellow intellectuals to a wager on God. He would dare them to step into a belief about God and see if it didn't change their lives. Pascal explained his wager this way. Make a bet that there is a God who loves you. If you are right, you have everything to gain. And if you are wrong, you have nothing to lose. Make a bet that God is real. It's a gamble where you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. If you find God, you will find the source of unconditional love for which you have always longed. Finding God will offer you a purpose for your life. And God is the one who can take your past and make sense out of it. That's a big-time payoff.
The risk I want you to take is this. Pray to God. If that's not a common practice for you, it may seem awkward at first, but I want you to try it.
I would pray, but I didn't know who I was praying to. I wouldn't sit there like I do now and know who I'm talking to. I just kind of, someone's there, so hear me.
I knew what I was doing was wrong, but still I broke away from it because to get back into a relationship with God meant I had to admit to a lot of things. I had to ask for a lot of forgiveness and a lot of internal conviction that was going to take place. I didn't want to do any of it.
For others, prayer is a regular part of your life. maybe so regular that at times it becomes a little routine. Either way, I want you to open yourself up to finding God in a deeper and more life-changing way than ever before.
As I was laying there, I just kept remembering this prayer from a book about a Celtic monk that I loved growing up. My dad introduced me to the author. The prayer that he goes to anytime he doesn't know what to do is, Lord have mercy. And it's just, he repeats it, it just becomes this meditation. Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy. Knowing the whole time and kind of laughing at myself that like, I really don't deserve this, but asking anyway and receiving it.
So here's exactly what I'm asking you to do. Pray as if God is real every single day for the next 30 days. And here's the first of 5 prayers I want to ask you to pray. God, if you are real, make yourself real to me. Awaken in me the ability to see that you are what's missing from my life.
We want to challenge you to take this 30-day journey with us. Wherever you are in your spiritual journey, whatever you believe, take the wager. You've got everything to gain and nothing to lose. Like I said, the devotionals are right in the back of the book. If you want to pick up a copy of the book, if you don't want to do that, but would like the daily devotionals emailed to you, just indicate that on your little white envelope, and we'll get you on an email list so they're just sent to you every day. But I want to challenge you to take this 30-day wager with God the way that I'm going to. And just pray every day, God, if you are real, make yourself real to me. Awaken in me the ability to see that you are what's missing in my life. What if we all decided to pray that prayer every day as a church family? I would love to see the results of every life that makes a commitment to do that. I know I need for God to be real in my life every day, and I want to experience Him more and more, and I want the same for you as well. So let me ask you again that bottom line question: where would you go to fill those longings that are deep in the soul of every person? Because the way we go about having those fulfilled is either going to draw us closer to God or push us further away. But imagine, what if God fulfilled all of those deep longings of your soul? Imagine what it would be like to never have to run after love or acceptance anymore. Imagine what it would feel like to never have to search for purpose and for meaning. Can you imagine a life where all of those longings are actually fulfilled and satisfied? My prayer is that every one of us will let those longings lead us closer to God. And so whether you need help finding your way back to God for the first time, or the 9th time, or if you're a little like Lynn Wolf for the 29th time, this series will help all of us to see the problem, to awaken us to finding love and purpose and meaning on our way back to God. So take that wager with us. Those of us who have placed our faith in God, in fact, have gone all in with Him by surrendering our lives to Him in baptism and becoming a Christian, have a little celebration that we do every Sunday morning of our winning bet, and we call it communion. And so I want to invite the band to come back up and prepare to lead us in another song. This time that we spend together every single Sunday is actually a celebration of the fact that God Himself went all in for us. As the famous 1 John 3:16 says in the Voice translation, God expressed His love for the world in this way. He gave His only Son, that whoever believes in Him will not face everlasting destruction, but will have everlasting life. So if you've placed your faith in God, and you have made Jesus your Savior, and been baptized into Him, we invite you to participate in communion with us this morning. As the band leads this next song, the ushers will pass the tray of down your road. Just take one of those stacks of cups out and hold on to it. The bottom one has a piece of bread that reminds us of Jesus' body, and the top one has a little juice that reminds us of His blood. And just hold on to those cups until the song is over, and then we'll be led in taking those emblems together. If you haven't come back to God for the first time yet, I can't think of a better day than Easter Sunday, Resurrection Sunday, begin that journey. If you're ready to place your faith in Jesus and be baptized into Him, I would love to talk with you about that. If you would like to start your own life group, you don't know about showing up to a home you've never been to before, but you can get together with a few of your friends and go through this study, I would love to help you get that started and get the resources to you that you need. Or if your commitment is simply as basic as, I'll come back next week, that would be a great one as well. I'm always one of the last people to leave here on Sunday morning, and so I will stick around to pray with whoever needs it, to answer any questions you have. We want to be all about helping you take your next step in finding your way back to God. Let's pray about that. God, we thank you that your love for us knows no bounds. That it went as far as sending your one and only Son to walk on this earth, to experience everything that we experience, yet to live a life that was sinless. But not only that, God, that He was willing to go to the cross, an innocent man, condemned to die, in order that He could be the perfect sacrifice for all of our sins for all time. God, it's on this special resurrection morning that we remember that Jesus died for us, but that the grave couldn't hold Him. That He rose again. That He's dealt with our sins, that He offers life at its fullest. And that He invites us to come back to God. God, for those here this morning who are far from You, God, let them know that You love them. That You stand on the road watching, no matter how far away we've gone. You're watching for the slightest sign of us to return. And that You want to run out to meet us and embrace us and welcome us home. God, wherever we're at in the journey, draw us closer to Yourself. And we thank You for that love that fulfills the deepest longings of our soul. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.